Often people ask me what I've learned about dignity since my book came out, because it's been 3 years. I've been doing a lot of talks. I mean, I've lost count of how many times I've given talks on this issue. And also, I've done a lot of work in consulting. I've gone into organizations that have been organizations that are fraught with conflict, and people have hired me to say, look, we've got a lot of conflict here. I'm thinking that maybe the dignity approach would be a way to address these conflicts. And I'd go in and interview a lot of people, especially the people who were sort of lower on the hierarchy, people who didn't have as much power as the leadership. And usually when these dignity violations happen, they do happen. They sort of pool at the bottom end of the hierarchy. And it doesn't matter where. I've done work in the corporate world, in healthcare, in schools, in faith communities, and the same pattern has emerged every single time that I've gone in. And the pattern is this, that if the leadership of these organizations isn't on board with wanting to create a culture of dignity within their organization, it's unlikely to happen. Because the leadership, it does two things. Number one, it sets the tone in an organization for how people are being treated, how people want to be treated. So they set the tone, but they also, and probably more importantly, they model the behavior. So the very first thing that I tell people is we have to get the leadership team on board here if we're going to have a successful intervention and to creating a dignity culture. Because you can just imagine that the employees always say, or whoever they are, they always say, well, you have to talk to my boss, because it's my boss who is the one who has the power to violate dignity. But of course, it's not only the bosses who do. There's a lot of colleague to colleague conflicts, and when you dig deep enough, you can see, number one, that almost all of the conflicts, almost all of them have dignity elements deeply rooted in the interactions, but rarely does it ever get talked about. So I think a good leader will recognize that not only does she or he have to embrace the work, embrace the concept that we want everybody to be treated as if they're valued and cared for here, and to have some tools and skills about how to actually implement that aspiration. Because not everybody knows. I mean, you'd think that honoring dignity would be something that we all knew, but it needs to be taught just like anything else. And so if a leadership says, okay, we're going to do this, and I'm going to walk the talk, and I'm going to try my best. If I fail, I'm going to apologize to you. If I'm not successful, I want you to tell me about it. I want you to give me the feedback, because that's how important I feel it is for all of us to feel safe and comfortable addressing these conflicts that come up in our relationships. But again, the leadership has to be the one. And in fact, I'm right now outlining my second book, and it's going to be entitled Leading with Dignity, because that's how important I think it's the single most important learning that I've had over the last 3 years.